Hi, and welcome back to the series of me reading from my book, Equal Protection Under God. The book is available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. It's also available as an e-reader for like Kindle on Amazon, and also it is an Audible and iTunes. So today I'm going to be reading from chapter 6, Separate but Equal. The framers possessed no monopoly on the ability to train moral principles for self-interest. Thurgood Marshall. Beth Moore was told to go home. When a prominent preacher participating in a panel discussion was asked what word came to mind when he heard Beth Moore, he said, "Go home." He and others on the panel then commenced bashing Miss Moore and lamenting about women preaching. The Southern Baptist Convention, of which my father was an ordained minister, has long opposed women preachers. Women have been allowed to speak to other groups of women, but there's no room for women preaching or being in a pastoral role over men. In the field of equality, doesn't "go home" sound eerily familiar to a directive 65 years ago to a woman to move to the back of the bus? There's an old legal concept that describes what church leaders are telling Miss Moore and other women. We will give you women a platform, a separate but equal platform. You do your events for women on your own time, not on Sunday mornings, and not from our pulpits on Sunday mornings. We keep the pulpit on Sunday mornings to preach to men, women, and children, and we remain at the helm of church leadership. That's the message, and that's what has been happening in many conservative churches. The problem, though, is that the platforms are not equal. Now, in this part of the book, I talk a little bit about some cases, and one of the cases I talk about is J.E.B. v. Alabama, which deals with jury selections and making sure that jury selections are gender neutral, race neutral, and just completely neutral across the board. So I'm picking up at the end of a discussion about J.E.B., where the discussion is regarding jury selection and being gender neutral. Our legal system is a reflection of our society. Most of the jurors who showed up for jury duty were members of our regular attenders of local churches and God-fearing people. Our judges, at least in Alabama, are proud of their church affiliations, and you'll often see a reference to the church they attend in their court bios. Courtroom staff and attorneys who come into the courtroom are people from the community who bring in their experiences, their beliefs, and their biases. Often, our churches reflect the society and community in which they are based more than the Jesus in which they proclaim. The Frontiero Court, we talked about Frontiero earlier in the book. The Frontiero Court addressed history's place for women. Quote, "Indeed, this paternalistic attitude became so firmly rooted in our national consciousness that 100 years ago, a distinguished member of the court was able to proclaim," and they're quoting from a prior case, "Man is, or should be, women's protector and defender. The natural and proper timidity and delicacy which belongs to the female sex evidently unfits it for many of the occupations of civil life. The constitution of the family organization, which is founded in the divine ordinance, as well as in the nature of things, indicates the domestic sphere as that which properly belongs to the domain and functions of womanhood. The harmony, not to say identity, of interest and views which belong or should belong to the family institution is repugnant to the idea of a woman adopting a distinct and independent career from that of her husband. The paramount destiny and mission of woman are to fulfill the noble and benign offices of wife and mother. This is the law of the Creator." And that is a quote from Bradwell v. State of Illinois, 1873. The quote from Frontiero continues, "As a result of notions such as these, our statute books became laden with gross, stereotyped distinctions between the sexes, and indeed, throughout much of the 19th century, the position of women in our society was, in many respects, comparable to that of blacks under the pre-Civil War slave codes. Neither slaves nor women could hold office, serve on juries, or bring suit in their own names. And married women traditionally were denied the legal capacity to hold or convey property or to serve as legal guardians of their own children. And although blacks were guaranteed the right to vote in 1870, women were denied even that right, which is itself preservative of other basic civil and political rights until adoption of the 19th Amendment half a century later." End quote. Those words about men being the protectors of women were echoed in 2019 when a prominent preacher on or about November 3rd delivered a sermon titled, "Does the Bible Permit Women to Preach?" wherein he said that when women take over a culture, that the men become weak, they get conquered, and women can sit there with all your jewelry and junk. You've been conquered because you overpowered your protector. This is not rooted in the Bible. Man is not my protector. God is. Adam didn't protect Eve. Abraham didn't protect Sarah. He was willing to let her become a sex slave to another man. Jacob didn't protect Dinah. Deborah wasn't protected by any man. And Esther wasn't protected by Mordecai. Christian conservative women are not looking to be viewed as bra-burning, shouting feminists, but we do want recognition that women and men are equal under God and should be treated as such within the walls of the places in which we worship.